Hi, everybody. So I just recorded almost that whole lecture to realize my microphone was not on. So that is heartbreaking. So I think I'll be better at this time around, but we'll see. With me, as always, is Wendell. Hey, buddy. Okay. So what I want to show you today is sort of just some tips and tricks in SketchUp, how best to sort of go about modeling things in SketchUp. I know you guys are relatively good at this already, but perhaps this video will show you some new little pointers and just show you how I use this program professionally. And and then in the next video, shorter video, I'll show you how to make custom textures in SketchUp, and a great resource for gathering seamless textures that will map very nicely onto your models. And you can sort of make this stuff look really cool. Okay, so what you're looking at here is an example of a photo studio and a photo studio edition based on my assignment. So for some of you, you're going to do the photo studio. For others, you're going to do the garden workshop. Totally up to you. For the photo studio, you, of course, will be using your model from last fall. And for the garden workshop, you'll use the model that I provided. So what you're looking at here is a existing photo studio. I'll just turn off that tag right there. And that existing photo studio is an example of something, say, one of your designs last year. So this kind of looks like Laura's, if I remember correctly. So this is basically 40 by 40. This is where that existing building would have been, but we can say it's gone for this project, and we'll work on our own siting later on in this project. But I've deleted all the site, which was fictitious anyways, and I have just my photo studio and then my new edition. Now, if you remember the program of the new edition, it asked for a new photo studio as well as a new outdoor photo studio. So I had those in mind as I modeled this, and I know I asked for storage and things like that as well, but I sort of put that in the back of my mind because the photo studio and the outdoor photo studio were the big pieces of the puzzle. So if I can get those down, perhaps I can find room for the others. So what I have here is, again, the existing here. These little indents are meant to represent, hey, that's where I'm going to put some glass and some windows. Wendell's on the hunt right now. This little bump up here has windows all the way around, and that will be for letting light into sort of the central space. And another glass area on this end. And then for the addition, I've sort of added a walkway to the new studio. So in my thinking, this will be some sort of glassy walkway to a more opaque photo studio, except on this end, maybe I'll have a lot of windows, which points out towards the outdoor photo studio with backdrop wall. Now, in between the old photo studio and the new photo studio, I have these areas, which could be outdoor patio space for employees or whatever the case may be, or they could even double as smaller outdoor studios. And they connect to the main outdoor studio here, and everything is encircled with this sort of retaining wall. So that's just kind of what I came up with quickly to sort of show this and how it could be done. So, so how do you go from here to something more detailed? So I was getting a little detailed here because I have like the smallest dimension you can see here is about a foot, the roof, the walls, things like that. But how do I take that even further, make it more detailed, and really bring this thing to life? Because right now the resolution, if you will, like the detail resolutions, um, still looks pretty clunky. So how do we detail this out? So I've grouped both of these, and as you can see, I'll close some of these. I've put them on their own layers, which in SketchUp they call them tags now. Don't know why they changed the name. They're probably trying to differentiate themselves from Autodesk or something. So I've put them on different tags so I can turn off the existing, I can turn off the new. and I can make as many of these tags as I'd like. So I'm going to take my new studio and I'm just going to move it out of the way a known distance. So I'm going to move it to the right on the red axis, say 60 feet. Okay, there. It's 60 feet down. So now what I could do, since this is its own group, I can actually I could trace over this or something and pull pieces one at a time and sort of detail them out. That's a pretty good technique. So for example, let's start making this box. So I know that this box is now just the wall portion of it. I'm going to bring my mouse over here with the pencil tool and just sort of measure this out. This is 28 feet by 15 feet, and it is 15 feet from the existing building. So let's make a 28-foot by 15-foot box, and then we'll carve into it. So I'm just going to make it arbitrarily someplace. 28 feet, 15 feet, 28 feet. There we go. And now I'm going to select that. And I'm going to move it. And I'm going to move it in line with the center point here. I'm going to move in line with the center point of the existing structure. Okay, so I know it's centered this way, but now I need to bring it a little closer. I'll double check that measurement. I had 15 feet. So I'll bring that all the way in, and then I'll bring it out and do 15 feet. Now I know it's exactly in the right position. That's sort of the footprint of this. But I want this to be a wall. Okay, not this plain or not just a empty box. So what I'll do is I'll offset this plane and I'll offset it, say a typical exterior wall thickness. Let's do 8 inches. Okay. Then I'm going to delete this center area. I'm just going to click it and delete. And then I'm going to do a push pull and bring this up to the height of the roof over there. So there we go. Now I have the wall of the new structure. I don't have any openings in it yet, but I kind of have it. I have it started here. So what I'm going to do before I move forward is group this. Okay. So I like to group things like that because I don't want them to get stuck to anything else that I might add to it. So if I put the roof on it right now, it's stuck to it. If I put the roof on it before I grouped it, it would be stuck to it. So I don't want that to happen. So I've got a nice shell here of a wall. Maybe it's a good time to make a new tag, and I'll call this walls. And I can select my new group, go up to entity info, and I can change the tag to walls, click in space, and now this is on the walls tag. Okay, so let's add this walkway to it. Not the roof, but at least the opening to the walkway. So I'm going to just measure this opening 5 feet by 12 feet. All right, buddy. So I'm going to go into this group and I'm going to go to the line tool. I'm going to go 12 feet up. And now 5 feet divided by 2 is 2.5 feet on this side and 2.5 feet on this side. That down. I'll erase this middle line, and then I'll use my push-pull tool to sort of push this in till I get the other side of that 8-inch wall, so it'll sort of snap to it. And there, I've got a nice opening, nice clean opening in the wall. There isn't any missing geometry. I can look and see that all my planes are still there. Now, I might have to adjust the edges of this to really fit that walkway into there once I model that, but this is good to start with. Okay, likewise, I know that I want on this side to be a nice big opening so I can have a big curtain wall system that I could put in there, maybe with a door or 2 doors or something like that. So what I'm going to do is sort of sketch it out on this surface to begin with. So I'm going to come in maybe a foot. I just drew a line on top of the line here. I'm going to come up to the height of that opening in the back. And I'm going to go all the way over to the end. Okay. And now I'm going to come in a foot here and drop it down to there. I'll erase this extra line I made. I'm going to go to my push pull and just push this in until I hit the other edge and get rid of it. Now looking at it, maybe I want to bring these in another foot. That looks pretty good. I like that opening. Okay. Now, maybe I want to add like a cool little like skinny window here and a skinny window on this side. And then that might be it for the windows in my my new studio. Okay, so let's try to get those in. So I'm going to sketch this out on here. So I'm going to go 1 foot over again. Go all the way down to the ground. I'm going to come up, say 2 feet for like a sill height. I'm going to go over 2 feet. That feels good. I'll go up to the height of the opening. So I'm going to lock to the blue using putting my mouse up and holding shift. And then I'm going to lock to there. And then I'll bring it over to there. Okay. So here's a common mistake. I'll show you how to fix it. I'm actually not in that group, which isn't good because I drew all this on the outside. So it's just geometry that's stuck on the outside. Let me show you. All this geometry that I have here is stuck on the outside. And it's like, oh, great. I got to do it all over again on the inside. 2 ways to do it. I could just go into the inside right now and trace out that shape I just made. Perfectly fine. Or I can grab everything out here, Control X and cut it, go into the group and go edit, paste in place. Now it's in there. And now when I push pull, I can get that shape pushed through just like the other ones. And there we go. Now you can see there's a blue edge in here. Now I'll show you how to fix that. So I'm going to delete the extra geometry that I don't need. That looks pretty good. And then I'll go in here. I'll grab those blue surfaces, holding down shift. And I'll right click on it and say reverse faces. There we go. So that looks pretty good. Now that might be a huge window, whatever. We can always adjust that later, but that's good for now. Now I need to make the same window on the other side. So I'm going to show you a trick. Go into the group. I'm going to select the boundary lines of that window. Go to my move tool. Hit Control to make a copy. See the little plus that is on the mouse. If I hit Control, it goes away. If I hit Control, there it is. That means, hey, you're going to move it, but you're making a copy. I'm going to grab the corner here. I'm going to lock to the red and bring it all the way over to here. This surface and click. Now I've just basically copied those lines over to that wall. Go to my push pull and push that through. And now I have 2 windows on the sides, big window in the front, and a doorway opening over here. Okay. So I would say that that's pretty good for that wall. There's no textures on it or anything, but that's fine. I could use this wall right here if I want and like literally bring that over here. So like I could copy it out. I could copy it in the group, go out of the group and paste it and then position it where I want. Because maybe you want to add some detail to this, but maybe for the 90% of it's looking good and I'm going to add to it. And then the roofs, you can add that later as well. So I think this is a good start here for just the wall. Now let's add a window in here. And I just want to show you how I add a window and then how I might break up the tags. Okay, so I have a wall. Now, do I want to put the whole window on window, including the glass and everything? Or do I want to separate the frames, the glass, and the walls? You know, you'll have to think about that. Okay, So let's add a window to here. Okay. So I'm going to go and zoom in on here. Now it's a little dark, so I'm going to turn off my shadows. There we go. Okay. So I'll just show you how I typically add a window frame. So a window frame might sit a little bit within the wall. That's one thing. Maybe like an inch or two on either side. And then it might have a sill that sits out from the wall. And then we might have mullions going up it. So let's just play around here and let's see what we do. So here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to take my pencil tool and I'm just going to trace out this inner side here, bring it down, and I'm going to go to the push pull. There's that surface there. You can see I drew a surface. I'm outside the group now, and that's fine because I'm not making a wall anymore. And I'm going to bring it, I'm just going to go over and close up the whole window. Okay, so I know that this is 8 inches thick. So maybe I'm going to push in this wall that I made in there, 2 inches on either side. Hey, I need you to calm down. 2 inches on this side. And I am going to let the dog out. And we're back. Okay, so I've got a plane in there that's 2 inches pushed in on this edge, 2 inches pushed in on the other edge. I know the wall is 8 inches, so that is a 4-inch thick kind of plane or mass in there. That's perfect for a window frame. So this is a good start. So I'm going to go in there and make it a group. Now I'm going to go into that group and I'm going to offset and make it a 2-inch frame and push that through. Okay, so I have a window frame over the whole opening. And I'm digging how that looks, but I want to put some horizontals in there. Okay, so this is its own group. This wall's its own group. Okay, so you could put the horizontals as a separate group. You could put the horizontals in the group of the frame. It's totally up to you. But I'll tell you how I'll do it. I'm going to go into the group. I'm going to grab this plane down here. I'm going to go to the move tool and hit control for copy. I'm going to bring that up and I'm going to put it right in the center, right there. Okay, it's just a plane. There's no thickness. I want that to be 2 inches thick. So I'm going to go to my push pull. I'll bring it down 1 inch. You'll see some things have changed. That's fine. And I'm going to bring the top up 1 inch. Now I know that it's 2 inches and it is directly in the center. So I'm going to go ahead and grab these, this geometry on the edges that turned blue and go ahead and reverse those. Now, the reason why that happens is this material has 2 sides, a white side and a blue side. That's the default material in SketchUp. And sometimes it flips and reverses, but I just try to make sure everything is, white on the outside, the blue on the inside, or if you prefer, blue on the outside, white on the inside. But I would do that versus having it be all different, white and blue. Okay. Okay, so I have one frame in there, but now I want to add some more. So I'm going to go back into this group. Now here's a good technique. I'm going to just make a selection from the bottom right to the upper left. I'm holding down my left mouse button and I'm selecting that whole frame. Okay, so it's selected everything there. And I'm going to go to my move tool and my copy, and I'm going to move it up. Let's try 3 feet. Okay, I like where that's positioned. Now I could either move this one, copy it down 6 feet, or I could grab this, go to move, and move this down 3 feet. Okay, that's looking like a pretty cool little wall window system. Okay, so I'm going to make a new tag, and I'm going to call it frames, or window frames. Mullions, if you want, would be fine. I'm going to grab those frames there, go up to my entity info tab here, and go to frames and click in space. And now that's on the frames layer or tag. And I could turn that off. And turn it back on. Okay, so now I'm going to copy those frames, move, copy. I'm going to grab this part of the wall, hit Control, and move it all the way over here. Boom. Now I've got frames in both of those, and I like how they look. They're looking pretty cool. Okay. So let's add some glass to here and glass to here. So all I'm gonna do for glass is put in a plane right in there. So this is how I do it. I'm gonna go to the rectangle tool, go up to the center here, midpoint, click, and I'll rotate around, go to the center here, midpoint, and click. Okay, so I've essentially put a plane in. Now that plane is crashing into the frames. That's why you're not seeing a line there. Okay, so I'm gonna triple click on that plane, right click, make it a group. Okay, I'm gonna make a new tag and I'm gonna call it glass. Okay, now I'm gonna move that plane to the glass plane, glass tag, and click in space. So looks pretty good. I'm not there yet, so I'm gonna double click on it. I'm going to select the whole thing, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say intersect faces with model. Boom. So now it made a line wherever it hits more geometry. That looks better. That looks like a nice window setup there. Okay, just some things if you want to add to this frame and to the glass. So right now, nothing is materialized yet. It's just the geometry's in there, and I can add those materials later, but I like where this is looking just from a pure geometry. I like to model things almost completely in sort of a white massing look. And then I like to go back and paint everything and materialize it. Okay, so here's my frame. Now what I might want to do is add a cool sill onto this. So I want it to pop out on the bottom, and I want it to sort of pop out on the top. So the window sort of expresses itself on the outside. So I could go down here, double click on this frame, I could draw a line here, I could draw a line there. I could pull this out to meet the edge of the wall, and then I'll pull it out another 2 inches. Okay, now I got some extra lines in there, so I'll just go ahead and delete those. I'll do the same at the top. Okay. Delete the extra lines. Now I've got something that has a little more character to it. Okay. Now here's the little bit of a bummer is that I've already copied this frame over to this other window. But right now, since they're just separate groups, they're not talking to each other. So it'd be really good if this was a component and then I brought it over. So I just want to show you how to do that after you've done what we've already done. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this frame. Okay. And then I'm going to take this group, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to explode it. Okay. So I've got rid of the group. And now before I do anything else, I'm going to right click again and say make component. And I'll call this tall window frame version 1. Okay, I'll just call it that as my first component. And I'm not going to set anything else, and I'm just going to hit create. Okay, now I'm going to take this component. I know it sticks out 2 inches. I'm going to copy it. So I hit the move tool, hit control, and I'm just going to, hit control. I'm going to pan over to here and bring it over here. So there it is. I can lock to the red and just click it over here. Now I have to rotate it around and put it back into the wall. I'll go to my rotate tool. It's at 180 degrees. And I'll move it into position. That's not quite right because I got to move it out 2 inches. There. I've got both these frames in position. Whatever I do to this one, it'll do to the other one, just to prove this to you, because they're components now. Here's the other side of that glass plane. Don't worry about that quite yet, the fact that it's blue. So I went into this frame. I'm going to hit the push-pull, and you can see that they're talking to each other now. And they're in the right orientation, so that's very important. So that looks pretty good. Okay, so we've made a window frame. We've put a piece of glass on this one. I'm going to just go ahead and copy this glass to the other side. You can see our intersection lines on it. There we go. And I think that's good for now. So I'll stop here. I'm going to make one more video on modeling and do sort of a curtain wall idea here. And I think that should be enough to sort of get you going. And then I'll make a last video on just creating custom materials. Okay, see you soon.